We are back with more NBA coverage to get right back into it. The Hornets would sign Spencer Dinwiddie to a one-year deal yesterday, and honestly, I think that makes ideal sense for them. Spencer Dinwiddie is not the type of player who should ever become the focal point of any offense. And I will say that if the Hornets do try to make Spencer Dinwiddie out to be this way, you're going to have a lot of problems. Well, no matter what you think of his consistency, and honestly, I have labeled him an inconsistent player for years, at the very least, he's been a solid contributor in pretty much every single destination outside of the Pistons. And I mean, even then, he was a younger player at that time, so his role wasn't major on those rosters, especially back then. Oh, they were just mired in terrible production for those years as a whole. It wasn't just him. But I mean, last season on the Mavericks, he averaged 11 points per game on 41.6% shooting from the field with 33.4% shooting from deep, and also added 4.4 assists per game. So that's not too bad at all. And I mean, the thing with Spencer Dinwiddie would honestly be this. In 3 of the last 4 seasons that he has played in, he has been traded at the trade deadline. So I just don't know about his ability to see this entire season through with this team. Because literally, for 3 years straight, he just got swapped at the trade deadline. So I don't know about his chances here. And the Hornets, if things are going a certain way, might just punt on him. Because they don't have a lot to lose if they do choose to move on from him at honestly any point during the season. One injury, one rise to ascent from the likes of Smith Jr. or Trey Mann early in the season, and he may very well be out of there. We don't know. But I don't think they'd want to remove his veteran presence from there, honestly. All these young guards, even LaMelo Ball, when he is healthy, could learn quite a few things from Spencer Dinwiddie. So I think it's a solid move. It's a rental. So there's, again, like I said, not a lot to lose from this. And in return, you get back a solid piece to use for a team that is at the very least trying to contend for the playoffs. That's what I would envision from them. I mean, you saw the jump that the Pistons were able to make last season, and that caught everyone by surprise. So if the Hornets, I guess they're trying to start doing this, if they can get certain things in order, they might be primed to take a similar jump. Obviously, they were one of the worst teams in basketball last season. So it'll take a valiant effort from pretty much every single person in that locker room. But nothing is impossible in this league. I mean, the entirety of the last season has shown us that. So, you know, they just need to continue making calculated and reasonable moves. And they can position themselves for that. The Mavericks, in light of losing Spencer Dinwiddie, would re-sign Dante Exum to a very short deal as well. I think it was also a 1-year deal. And it does make sense. In the games that Dante Exum has been a part of, he has also been a very good piece for them, putting up 8.7 points per game on relatively good efficiency, 47.8% shooting from the field and 43.4% shooting from deep. As I've said since he's gotten there, he has taken quite an interesting path to rejuvenation. This man was considered to be a bust by pretty much everyone in the NBA media space as a member of the Jazz. And ever since that point, he has just taken some of the most arbitrary stops in his career. So I don't think people were expecting that much when he got here in Dallas in the 2023 season. I don't know how things exactly got to this point. We're talking about a player who spent 2 straight years overseas. Clearly, he picked up something special over there. Because to become part of this rotation and a player that was apparently Dante Exum in this particular situation, he was apparently looking at other playoff contenders and was strongly considering a few other options, but decided to return to the team. And so he'll continue to be a solid bench player for this roster, and with Kyrie Irving out, there's a chance that he could assume more responsibilities. We would have to see, because in this role in Dallas, he's been more of a sort of 3-and-D guy. So to give him ball handling responsibilities might be pushing it a little bit. But at the same time, he has kind of proven himself for the past couple years as a part of the team that got all the way to the NBA Finals. Did lose, but still, during that playoff run especially, he was a sort of breakout player for them in that limited role. And I can imagine that, losing Dinwiddie might have been tough, but to lose him and Dante Exum would kind of crush you without Kyrie Irving being there. So, to have some familiarity with offense, at least, in Dante Exum as well, in the right system, he's going to know how to operate things. And I think that's what they're banking on here. This was a very, very stark contrast compared to where he was just a couple of seasons back. We can say that he has legitimate job security once again. And honestly, for a player in Dante Exum's position, that's kind of what matters tremendously here for his case. So you have to respect that. The Lakers would sign De'Andre Ayton to a 2-year, $16.6 million contract. I mean, it is smart to take this on from the Lakers' perspective when you do take multiple looks at it. I mean, think about this from De'Andre Ayton's standpoint. For whatever reason, he is set to be paid $34 million next year in his salary. However, that's a combination of the buyout he recently had with Portland and also the $8.3 million he'll make on average. I assume that they're probably giving him a little less money in the first year and kind of stretching the rest of it out in the second year. So to get a former number 1 overall pick who does provide, when healthy, at least a double-double, is the quintessential move for that front office. And it was one of true need. They had no center slated to return for them next season. And even then, when you're looking at who they had, whether it was Trey Jemison III, whether it was Jackson Hayes, or even Maxi Kleber being listed as a center, even though he's a 6'9" power forward, none of them are productive enough at that position to warrant an extended contract heading into the next season. So, locking up De'Andre Ayton for the short term and seeing what you have in a player who is now entering his prime can't necessarily be labeled a bad move. I mean, hell, in that offense, a player like De'Andre Ayton should contribute nicely. But this is the downside of everything, and this is the overall problem. it all ties back into how exactly De'Andre Ayton is going to approach things. I mean, the minute he enters the draft and has that press conference, he says that he was looking forward to that second contract. From the jump, you should have recognized that this nigga didn't give a shit about actually contributing on a basketball court.
Really?
His focus was more so on getting the bag, and he literally dipped in production right after that, dipped in durability, doesn't have any work ethic whatsoever, and is honestly looking like he might be starting to slip when it comes to overall conditioning. I mean, granted, the 40 games he played in last season could be a testament to just an unfortunate injury, but at the same time, you don't want him to start developing terrible habits in keeping his body right. Because if that is the case, you have that going on in Portland, and now you're trying to make a name for yourself in Los Angeles while still having those potential bad habits in your mindset. That's not a good mixture whatsoever, and you hope that that's not the case. But in reality, again, it is just a never-ending thing. He does not have a passion for the game. That's been made very clear, and there has been nothing but flashes of inability to hearken a much greater energy for himself on the basketball court. You know, you saw bits and pieces of it in Phoenix, but even then, that ultimately ended in him having a spat with Monty Williams where both of them ended up losing their jobs with the team in due time. So De'Andre Ayton getting this short of a contract too has to recognize that these people are not playing around with you anymore. If you can't find a way to not only put up the double-double, but truly make it impact winning. Like, yeah, he did this in Portland, but they haven't been contending for anything. They've been some of the worst teams in basketball. I will give them credit last year. They did turn things around. They were in play-in contention. But still, they were at the very worst a fringe play-in contender. And that's not optimal for a player in De'Andre Ayton who should be much more highly regarded than he is right now. You have to make it impact winning. You can't just go all out for the numbers and not pay any attention to the little things. The defensive effort has got to be there. And that's what I would question from the Lakers in this. You have him as the only current center on your roster, and you're expecting a man who has for years been a defensive liability, especially against other elite players at his position, to now all of a sudden assume that responsibility. Again, a culmination of factors should be able to do it. Because, again, I guess in free agency, he was probably looking for somewhere upwards of $35 million a year, and to get below $10 million, to have them play with his money like that, although it's the right decision at the end of the day, he doesn't warrant that kind of deal, that might motivate him a little bit. I don't know what truly goes through De'Andre Ayton's head. Only he knows what will truly motivate him to succeed with this team. But I'll just cap this off with this point. If you cannot find a way at the prime of your career, because he will be 27 in the month, a little later on in the month. If you can't find a way to make a true impact on this team, or at least elevate your game and mindset around the likes of both LeBron and Luka Doncic, I wouldn't even know what to say. You know, LeBron has definitely got the combination of leadership and skill, even at this stage of his career. And Luka Doncic has certainly got the skill component, while also being able to, at least on the court, light a fire under his teammates whenever he needs to, whether it be through his own play or whether it be through getting other players involved in a specific set. And we've seen that on multiple occasions from both of them. Their basketball IQ is off the charts, and you know that they're going to do as best as they can in a given set of possessions to feed De'Andre Ayton. If you want De'Andre Ayton to be a lob threat, fine. Whether it be having him in the pick and roll with LeBron or Luka Doncic, I can guarantee you that when he actually gets his health right, he does have the athleticism that just jumps off the page. And if he embraces the physical component of actually being the true center of this team as well, that's what it's going to come down to. Because he's always been a center who has been hyped up to be this dominant force. Even he calls himself dominating because he thinks that he's such a large physical presence down there. He has never proven that. So this is really going to test his mettle now. You don't have another legitimate defender on that team right now. Most of them are either gone in free agency or really just out of the Lakers' plans at this point. You know, I mean, Jared Vanderbilt is, I guess, still on the team, but he's just seen massive regression. So I don't even know about his ability to play with this team anymore. They may very well elect to move on from him in the near future. You know, the injury set him back for sure, but even in his return, it has gone downhill for him. So given that lack of defensive talent on your roster, De'Andre Ayton is it, unless before the offseason ends they can find another short-term rental for a defensive-minded player of sorts. They're going to need that. If you cannot realize what your full potential truly is with two of the best players in the league and two of the most well-rounded players in NBA history surrounding you, his chances in the NBA are finished. There will be no more room for him to have an NBA roster spot. The talent has obviously been there. But as we continue to reiterate, talent is only going to get you so far. So that man better tighten that up, because there's no way that you squander this opportunity. You gotta go get it. It is now or never for him. Simply put, the Mavericks would hire Frank Vogel as an assistant coach. And it's not a bad hire. Especially with Jason Kidd being more of a balanced coach, I would say. You know, he's obviously going to be offensive-minded as a former point guard. But, you know, the defensive component of his coaching style isn't completely lost. And with their current roster, to have a coach like Frank Vogel who is fully defensive-minded, it is quite optimal in their position. So even if Jason Kidd isn't going to necessarily incorporate an entire game plan focused on the defensive side of the basketball, Frank Vogel is going to be spending as much time as he can with all the players, whether it be individually or as a full team, to improve their skills that way. And I think that does work out perfectly for them. He's going to have a lot of fun playing around with some of the defensive lineups that he could have in these games. They are building a roster that could, when they are all healthy, go very deep in that front. So where no matter which unit you're facing, it ain't going to be easy to score on either one of them. And if Nico Harrison wants to continue to die on the hill that defense wins championships, well, Frank Vogel's defense did lead to the Lakers winning an NBA title in the bubble. He has the championship medal to his name. So, shit, man. Acquiring Frank Vogel honestly makes sense with something I recently saw, because according to Shams Charania, the Nuggets are heavily looking into hiring Jared Dudley as their top assistant coach under David Adelman. So, losing Jared Dudley like that certainly hurts. He has definitely been a staple of that Mavericks coaching staff for years now. And I always fancied it to be a pretty random spot for him, because for him to transition into your standard role player in the NBA for all these years into now becoming a very valued coaching candidate is quite the turnaround, in my opinion. So, from that perspective, it does make sense. And, I mean, the Nuggets, if they can actually get his services, are poised to have a pretty good voice in that locker room. I mean, if we're talking about any particular coach on the team being able to resonate with the players on that squad, because that was kind of the reason why Michael Malone got fired. He lost the locker room. What better way to have that quality be regained than from the voice of a former player, even if he wasn't even remotely close to the best player on any of his teams. One thing that was invaluable about Jared Dudley for so long was his ability as just a locker room guy and a person that would rally around his team no matter what. So, taking that on is a very good idea, and I think they can truly get behind that. I know David Adelman is certainly not, scoffing at that move at all. He will certainly with that. And apparently there are another news, because according to multiple reports, this Kevin Durant trade that sent him to the Suns is set to get even more whacked out, because apparently it is set to be expanded within the next few days. If these reports are all true, sources indicate that this deal could be expanded to an NBA record 7 teams being involved, with the other 5 now including, according to this CBS Sports article at least, the Hawks, Lakers, Timberwolves, Nets, and the Warriors. Now, there haven't been any details regarding this whatsoever, so we really have no idea how this is going to go. But I honestly have a few thoughts on it. As multiple reports would come out later and say, following some of these moves, these teams were acquiring all this good talent on short-term deals, and while they looked fine in retrospect, at the same time, they had to dig so deep into their mid-level exceptions to the point where they were invalidated at that point. They had no space to make any of these deals work out contractually or monetarily. And so from those standpoints, they now have to get other teams involved to make all of these things work as properly as they should. apparently, according to multiple reports, they involved the Clint Capella trade that sent him from the Hawks to the Rockets. It apparently included Dorian Finney-Smith's trade as well, although one of the reports did state that they had to choose one. So I guess this is the one that they're selecting. They said recent draftees were also involved, and that apparently there weren't going to be other major players involved in this deal. But at the same time, I think that is all a bluff. There are probably a few more players involved in this. Maybe not high-level contributors, but with the way that some of these teams are progressing, any way they can offload some of that money, they will probably do it. The thing that catches my eye the most about this is whatever in the hell they're going to do with Dalton Knecht. I don't want to believe that the Lakers would move on from Dalton Knecht in this particular deal. I just wouldn't want to. Like, he's still, even by being an older rookie in the 24 draft class, a relatively young player who provides great shooting prowess and could only get better with time. Yet the Lakers early in the season have already proven that they are willing to part ways with him. And in the most awkward turn of events, it didn't pan out because they deemed that Mark Williams was not healthy enough. And they failed his physical. If something like this is bound to come up, what is truly stopping them from moving on from him again? I don't think anything truly stands in their way of making that happen. So as unfortunate as it would be to see, it's highly likely that he is a player involved in it. I really hate to see it, but I don't know. The Nets as well. Yes, it's totally understandable from their perspective. The amount of draft picks that they had in just the first round alone, and the fact that you have to give all those guys rookie contracts. Some of the other teams involved in this deal need those kinds of players in their rosters right now. Just because they're treading so much closer towards the second apron than they really should be at this point in time. Some of them are potentially in danger of crossing that threshold. So they need to distance themselves as far from that as they can. And I can imagine that's why the Nets are involved in this as well. Also, it was stated in one of the other reports that I guess the Cameron Johnson trade needed to be tweaked a little bit to where I suppose the Nuggets will still get Cam Johnson, but they have to kind of alter some of the other surrounding pieces in that deal. And the Warriors, they mention in this article that some of these teams made draft day trades with the Suns for picks. So some of these picks that were acquired might get moved. I would hope they don't move on from Will Richard, but it could trend towards that way. All of this is merely speculation. Again, we don't know anything until the full details are released, and I am very anxious to see what that looks like. And another thing from the Warriors, before I even got on here, I did see a report, don't know how true it is. Apparently, they are looking into a Jonathan Kuminga swap with Malik Monk. Again, I'm not going to speculate on anything here. I don't know how likely this truly is. But, I don't know. I mean, with both of their current contracts, it seems like Kuminga would be worth a lot more money, and taking on a player like Malik Monk, who might serve their squad in a much better way at this time, given how clanky the fit is with Kuminga and Butler the third on the court at the same time. That wouldn't be the worst return, but again, given the amount of money involved, there would probably be some other capital involved, whether that be cash, whether that be draft picks, etc. Wouldn't be a bad move. I just, gotta have more firm evidence on that to truly give that any merit whatsoever. But that'll do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.